Have you ever been in a situation where you're sitting there talking with one of your league mates and they drop some information that makes you really think, man, I am behind the 8 ball here? Well, no worries. Those days are long gone because we're going to start talking about some fantasy football cheat codes that's going to have you looking at your league mates like, this dude don't know.
Yeah. Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. Where, yes, it's time to start dropping some fantasy football cheat codes. If you like some cheat codes here in fantasy football, do me a favor and hit that like button because we're going to start dropping some knowledge nuggets here over the coming weeks and coming months. There's a lot of statistics, some advanced analytics out there that can really give you a leg up on the competition. Now, no, football does not solely rely on just statistics. You got to look at film and game tape and you merge them together to really come out to the best outcome. But what we're going to be talking about here today is something called catchable targets, right? And this is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to most of the times when you're in a draft room, regardless of where you play, whatever platform it is, you're going to have a set of projections or box scores there that a lot of people are too much overly reliant upon. It's going to have projected receptions and yardage and touchdown, all that kind of stuff. Targets will be in there. And a lot of people fall in love with the target number. Now, you've heard me say for 6 years now, almost, that, you can't score fantasy points if you're not getting touches. How do wide receivers get touches? It's by getting targets, right? But what we want here are catchable targets. Once again, catchable target. I don't care if the ball is in the general vicinity of my wide receiver. If he has no chance of actually reeling it in and catching it, a great example of this would be DJ Moore, right? A lot of people love themselves some DJ Moore, and DJ Moore last year had 163 targets, one of the highest numbers in the league. That's great. The problem is only 107 of them were deemed catchable. Almost 60 targets of his last year were not even catchable footballs. Now, how is that going to change going into 2022? Quarterback situation didn't really change, right? Probably not going to get a whole lot better, but there were some wide receivers now on new teams with new quarterbacks. Could their catchable targets go up or down? And what can we expect that to do to their overall statistics in fantasy football production? That's what we're talking about here today. I got a handful of wide receivers that we're going to kind of compare where they were last year to where they're going this year with a new quarterback, a new team, and how do those quarterbacks fare against each other with delivering catchable targets? So remember, don't fall in love with just targets. We want the quality targets. We want the catchable targets. I want targets to go somewhere that the guy actually has a chance to do something with it. You see the likes of maybe Cooper Kupp. Last year, 191 targets, and 156 of them were deemed catchable. Great. That's what we're looking for, right? The ball was being delivered to him in a way in which he could make the reception and do something with it. So let's go ahead. Let's dive into our first one here. And let's start off with maybe a little bit lesser of a name, but a guy on a new team who just signed for a boatload of money. Let's take a look here at Christian Kirk. And when we look at Christian Kirk, we have to kind of remember that this stat goes both ways, right? It can drastically help a wide receiver. It can hurt a wide receiver. And in the case of Christian Kirk, he could be in for some trouble, right? Last year in 2021, 85 of 103 of his targets were deemed catchable from his quarterback, Kyler Murray. That's 82.5%. That is a huge number of catchable targets. But look what he has to work with in 2022. Trevor Lawrence last year struggled, to say the least. Now, we can expect him to improve, hopefully a little bit now that the Urban Meyer experiment is over. But look at these catchable pass rates, whether they're being pressured on deep balls, whatever it may be, they're down across the board for Trevor Lawrence. One thing we know about Christian Kirk, he's able to beat you deep. Well, the deep ball catchable pass rate was only 52%, 22nd overall among all quarterbacks in the NFL, compared to Kyler Murray, who was number 5 in the NFL. What about being under pressure? We know Kyler Murray can escape the pocket, extend plays, and make things happen down the field. When he was pressured, he completed 66.9% of his passes, 6th best in the NFL, compared to Trevor Lawrence at 49.7%, number 32. There's only 32 teams, right? So 32nd overall. Trevor Lawrence struggled under pressure. Is there something we can look at with the Jacksonville Jaguars here this year and say that that number is going to drastically improve? Are they drastically going to improve their pass protection? I don't see that. So when you see these catchable pass rates across the board dip down, when we look at Trevor Lawrence compared to Kyler Murray, we have to expect the same with Christian Kirk. Now, obviously, he's not some big fantasy name, but we want to make sure that you're looking at things this way. If you just take a look at those box scores and you see a target jump this year for Christian Kirk, because now he's no longer a team's second or third option, he's probably going to be the lead guy in Jacksonville, you have to anticipate more targets. But if those extra targets aren't catchable, he's really not going to get that much better production on the football field because of it. So that's one way to look at it here. What about we go look at, how about Davante Adams? Arguably one of the biggest moves this offseason, right? I mean, you're leaving Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. You're going to Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. Things have to get worse, right? Well, in 2021, Aaron Rodgers threw Davante Adams 169 targets, of which 127 of them were deemed catchable, 75.1%. Aaron Rodgers overall on the season delivered 79.1% of his passes with catchable targets. Great number, right? Look at Derek Carr, 79.2%. Actually finished one spot ahead of Aaron Rodgers in this actual stat, but they were neck and neck right here. What about the deep ball, right? We know Davante Adams can go deep down the field with Aaron Rodgers. A slight decrease there between Aaron and Derek Carr, but overall, this is not some big, huge drop-off going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr when it comes to catchable passes. Are the targets going to take a big hit? Really? Probably not. We know he's the number one option in Las Vegas. We know he has great chemistry already with his college quarterback, Derek Carr. And Derek Carr has proven time and time again for multiple years that he can go out there, produce on the football field, and deliver catchable passes. So once again, Davante Adams, even though he's leaving a Hall of Fame quarterback, arguably one of the best of all time, to go to Derek Carr, it may not sound sexy, but on the field, he's going to get the same opportunity that he saw in Green Bay. Does that mean that we can pretty much pencil him in for what we've seen from him the last couple seasons? No, they may take a slight hit because there are more options in Las Vegas than maybe we've seen over the last few years in Green Bay. We know about Hunter Renfrow. We know about Darren Waller. But when it comes to Davante Adams, he's still going to have a great opportunity at not only a lot of targets, but a lot of catchable targets, despite the lack of sexiness when it comes to the name Derek Carr for so many people. I've loved Derek Carr for years, and everybody just seems to just dislike this guy. So glad they were able to extend him and really show him that he's, worth something to this franchise, because he hasn't gotten a lot of love the last few years. How about we move on? How about Michael Pittman? Now, we know Michael Pittman's got a new quarterback, right? Out went Carson Wentz, in comes Matt Ryan, but Pittman, coming off a 1,000-yard season, is somebody who we really expect to take a leap here in 2022. But is he going to get that opportunity? Well, in 2021, 95 of 129 of his targets were deemed catchable, 73.6% of them, which just so happens to be the actual amount that Carson Wentz delivered. But that's only good enough to be 32nd overall when it comes to catchable pass rate. So even though it's not a horrible number compared to the average quarterback in the NFL, it's below average. So now we're going to Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan last season had a 78% catchable pass rate, good enough for 14th overall, right there in the middle of the pack. But where we really see the main difference is we know Matt Ryan can deliver clean balls just like Manscaped when he has a clean pocket. He's going to Indianapolis, which is arguably the best offensive line he's played behind in quite some time. He didn't have that luxury in Atlanta. So when we look at clean pocket accuracy rating, you have Carson Wentz with a 7.2, good enough for 30th overall. And then you have Matt Ryan, who's got a clean pocket accuracy rating of 7.9, 9th overall. So he knows he's going to get an opportunity to play behind a better offensive line. The catchable pass rate at 78% is an increase to Michael Pittman. Does that mean that his numbers are absolutely going to catapult? No, but we're looking at a guy who can slightly get maybe 5% more catchable targets, which could bump up his production by a good, 100 yards or so, maybe a touchdown or two. That's what we're looking for when it comes to Michael Pittman. Ask yourself this question. If you leave 2022 and Michael Pittman is on your roster and he's hovering right around 1,200 yards and 6 to 7 touchdowns, are you happy with those numbers? If the answer is yes, you're going to like the change to Matt Ryan, because with these projections, that's kind of where he's going to be sitting. This is actually an improvement for Michael Pittman here this year, going to Matt Ryan. How about another guy that's changed teams, a guy that a lot of people hated in 2021? It's Allen Robinson of now the Los Angeles Rams. When we look at Allen Robinson, he had to deal with a couple quarterbacks last year and what the dumpster fire was of the Chicago Bears. But only 40 of his 66 targets were deemed catchable. That's just under 61%. The catchable pass rate just for Justin Fields, though, was at 73.7. Now, Andy Dalton was in that mix as well, so that's why the difference in numbers, but not a great number overall for Justin Fields. But now he goes to Matthew Stafford, whose catchable pass rate is 77.2. We mentioned Cooper Kupp at the start of the episode here. He's definitely somebody who's benefited from better balls being delivered from his quarterback. So Matthew Stafford is an upgrade here for Allen Robinson. Same thing when we look at that clean pocket rating, right? When Justin Fields doesn't have a clean pocket to throw to, his accuracy numbers start to go down. And we know that, Matthew Stafford's going to be given everything possible in LA to succeed. They're signing everyone at every position that they can possibly upgrade to make another run at a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford is in a great position to go out there and really duplicate what we saw in 2021. We saw Odell Beckham kind of have a resurgence to his career, look a lot younger, be very productive on the football field. Do not be surprised if Allen Robinson adopts that role here this year and really benefits from the most catchable targets he's ever had in his career. Don't forget, this guy has had a garbage truck full of quarterbacks or bad situations since he's entered the league. He's had Blake Bortles and Andy Dalton, and then he got Justin Fields, who I don't hate, but Matt Nagy was in the mix, just totally holding back that offense. It's been a nightmare for Allen Robinson since he entered the league. The talent is still there. Now the opportunity is, and it's why we like ourselves some Allen Robinson so much this season. How about we move on to, here's a good one, Courtland Sutton. Now, Courtland Sutton's obviously getting a great upgrade at quarterback, right? They're going from Drew Lock and Teddy B to Russell Wilson. Now, overall, the numbers got to be drastically better, right? Well, in 2021, 61 of the 98 targets that went the way of Courtland Sutton were deemed catchable for only 62%, and that's because Teddy B missed some time and Drew Lock was inserted into the lineup. Overall, though, Teddy B wasn't all half bad. He delivered 77.2% catchable targets. When you look at Russell Wilson last year, 77%, just a hair under Teddy B. So does that mean that we're going to see a regression from Courtland Sutton? No, of course not. Look at the deep ball catchable pass rate. We know that Teddy B is not the type to go deep down the field very often. Russ likes to cook and likes to go deep. Who benefits from that? The big play receivers like a Courtland Sutton. Deep ball catchable pass rate for Teddy B, 52.7, 21st overall, compared to Russell Wilson, 67.5%, sixth best in the NFL. This is where we're going to see the drastic improvement from Courtland Sutton, is on the big play, the deep ball down the field. Is he really going to get a huge jump in targets? Maybe not. The quality of targets are still going to be there, but he's going to have more opportunities deeper down the field, giving himself that ability to have bigger games with fewer targets, like we've seen in the past with like the DK Metcalfs and Tyler Lockett's in Seattle with Russell Wilson. The deep ball leads to big fantasy points, maybe less targets overall, but the production is still there on the field, and that's why so many people are falling in love with Courtland Sutton. But there's a lot of other wide receivers that we could have done this for, right? Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Tyreek Hill. There's other big name guys, but I wanted to arm you with the weapons to go out there and look at these types of things for yourself. Plus, it's only April, right? I got to make sure I have enough content to get me all the way through the offseason. And if I blew my load here right now, April 14th, I wouldn't have a whole lot to talk about with these guys later on. So we're going to get into all these guys at some point in the future. Don't worry, hit that subscribe button. Don't go go anywhere. We're going to cover basically every player on every roster before the season even starts, so you have an idea of what to look for come draft day. If you're looking for an even bigger heads up, our draft guide is available for pre-order right now on our website, thefantasyheadliners.com. It's over 600 virtual pages of all things fantasy football that give you all the information you need to be successful. That's available if you are interested, but we wanted to start dropping these knowledge nuggets. Like I said, we're going to start going through a few of these stats every couple weeks, every couple months, just so you can have time to digest it, right? I'm not trying to just pound all these numbers into your head and have you memorize them in April, and then by the time August comes around, you've totally forgotten about them. So a little bit at a time, a little nugget or so every couple of weeks is going to make you a better fantasy football player, and that's what it's all about. Do me a favor, though. If you enjoy the content, hit the like button. It greatly helps us out here on YouTube, and I really enjoy your comments down below. I'm doing my best to get to every comment on every video that I put out here this offseason, so if you have something to say about one of these guys, maybe somebody else, leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to interact with you, and we can have conversations and try to figure out what is best case, worst case scenario for some of these wide receivers in different situations here in 2022. But hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week this week, and we'll talk to you later.